And shalom, welcome, welcome, welcome to the finale of Jubilees. I think this is one of the longest books I've done so far. And next week we'll be starting Enoch. Pretty exciting, pretty exciting. Last week it was really rough. There was a lot going on. That's why I'd asked for prayers on Facebook. I just wasn't, I couldn't do the live stream. So this is the finale of the Jubilees. And yeah, like I said, we'll be doing Enoch next week. And then after the book of Enoch, which is probably going to be even longer than Jubilees, we're going to be doing and going over Paul's writings. Oops, excuse me. Paul's writings and in context, in depth, in everything to show why he is not false like this crazy satanic doctrine that's going around saying he's a false apostle, this and that, blah blah blah. They really have they have nothing to back it up. They have like 3 lines that they use. One of them is, oh, you put Paul above Messiah, and it's like, no, you guys are idiots. Like, anyway, I pray for them. I've been taking a break from Facebook as well. It's been helping a lot. It's drama book. That's what I call it, drama book. That's all that's on there really is just drama lately. And staying away from it has helped tremendously. Like, now I can go on, I can just bypass people's negative and rude comments. I just ignore them now. Why even give them the time of day, really? Because it's just gonna. They're sowers of discord on purpose, is what they do. They go on there, they're keyboard warriors. They go on there to show they're right, everyone else is wrong. You can't say otherwise, you can't show anything otherwise, you can't prove anything otherwise. I'm done going on with arguments that last for straight up like weeks. One brother, literally 4 months of going on, of trying to fight me because I wanted to help the homeless. And he was going off saying I should only help brothers and sisters. This whole time I'm showing him, asking him to show me scriptures where it's showing this. And there was like a couple in Deuteronomy that he takes way out of context. And I'm like, show me where Messiah says only help your brothers and sisters. Show me where Messiah only went and helped his apostles. Like, come on. 6 months of that, I was done. No more. No good deed goes unpunished. Anyways, enough of me babbling. My apologies. We will start. We only have these 5 chapters left, so excuse me, let's jump into it here. So, chapter 45. And Yasharel went into the country of Mitzrayim, into the land of Goshen, on the new moon of the 4th month, in the 2nd year of the 3rd week, of the 45th Jubilee. And Joseph went to meet his father Yaakov, to the land of Goshen, and he fell on his father's neck and wept. So just one thing real quick. In all these chapters of Jubilees, you could see that it says, on the new moon of the 4th month. It doesn't say the new moon beginning the 4th month. No. A lot of these people follow new moons for months, and it makes their calendars off. So then they got to add like a 13th month to their calendar, and then nowhere in scriptures is a 13th month at all. And they try to say, well, there's nowhere in scriptures where you have to intercalate and blah, blah, blah. Actually, technically, here in Jubilees, it tells and explains that, but who am I? I'm just a humble servant. And Yasharel said unto Joseph, now let me die, since I have seen you. And now may Yahuwah Elohim of Yasharel be blessed, the Elohim of Abraham, and the Elohim of Yitzhak, who has not withheld his mercy and his grace from his servant Yaakov. It is enough for me that I have seen your face, while I am yet alive. Yea, true is the vision which I saw at Bethel. Blessed be Yahuwah Elohai forever and ever, and blessed be his name. Excuse me. So in case some of you may not know, Elohim is the plural of Elohai. Elohai just means God. Well, technically God the English has somewhere, yeah, we're not going to get into that anyway. Elohim is plural for Elohai. And it's so throughout all scriptures, when it refers to specifically talking to Yahuwah himself and blessing him, this is what they call him, Yahuwah Elohai. But every other usual, when they're just talking about him and describing him, they call him Elohim, the plural. You know why? Because Messiah is his right hand. That's why there's a plural. That's why when it says let us make man in our image, it's because his right hand was right there. Messiah was his first begotten. He wasn't created, he was begotten. And that's the whole thing. And we'll go over this. I think I went over it a little bit, but not in detail. There's so much to go over. Anyway, let me continue. And Joseph and his brothers ate bread before their father, and drank wine. And Yaakov rejoiced, with exceeding great joy, because he saw Joseph eating with his brothers, and drinking before him. And he blessed the Creator of all things, who had preserved him, and had preserved for him his 12 sons. Excuse me. And Joseph had given to his father and to his brothers as a gift the right of dwelling in the land of Goshen, in the Ramek, and all the region round about, which he ruled over before Pharaoh. Excuse me. Goodness, itchy throat today. And the region round about, which he ruled over before Pharaoh. And Yasharel and his sons dwelt in the land of Goshen, the best part of the land of Mitzrayim. And Yasharel was 130 years old when he came into Mitzrayim. And Joseph nourished his father and his brethren and also their possessions with bread, as much as sufficed them, for the 7 years of the famine. And the land of Mitzrayim suffered by reason of the famine. And Joseph acquired all the land of Mitzrayim for Pharaoh in return for food. And he got possession of the people and their cattle and everything for Pharaoh. Isn't that pretty interesting how the same thing's happening today here in the good old U.S.? We as people are goods. That's a whole nother rabbit hole, but look into it. Our social security numbers, all that. We're us, our land, everything, our kids. We're an acquisition, a way for them. We're just a piece of, like a cup, or a piece of whatever. They use us when they want, and that's about that. Keep us in the dark. Anyway. And the years of the famine were accomplished. And Joseph gave to the people in the land seed and food, that they might sow the land in the 8th year. For the river had overflowed all the land of Mitzrayim. For in the 7 years of famine it had not overflowed, and had irrigated only a few places on the banks of the river. But now it overflowed, and the Mitzrayim sowed the land, and it bore much grain that year. And this was the 1st year of the 4th week of the 45th Jubilee. And Joseph took the grain of the harvest, the 5th part for the king, and left 4 parts for them for food and for seed. And Joseph made it an ordinance for the land of Mitzrayim until this day. And Yasharel lived in the land of Mitzrayim 17 years, and all the days which he lived were 3 Jubilees, 147 years. And he died in the 4th year of the 5th week of the 45th Jubilee. And Yasharel blessed his sons before he died, and told them everything that would befall them in the land of Mitzrayim. He made known to them what would come upon them in the last days, and blessed them, and gave to Joseph 2 portions in the land. And he slept with his fathers, and he was buried in the double cave in the land of Canaan, near Abraham his father, in the grave which he dug for himself, in the double cave in the land of Hebron. And he gave all his Sepharim and the Sepharim of his fathers to Levi, his son, that he might guard them and renew them for his children until this day. So that's kind of another thing that goes a bit deeper. But how there are no original copies of scriptures. That's why there were scribes. The scribes would they would copy down exactly what it said on newer pieces of parchment, because the old ones would just deteriorate away eventually, especially with use. And since they didn't have printers back then, you had to have scribes always making new copies of these things, which is why to be a scribe, there's a lot that you had to go through to be a scribe, to make sure that you're not altering anything. But anyway, whole nother level. Anyway, so chapter 46. And it came to pass that after Yaakov died, the children of Yasharel multiplied in the land of Mitzrayim. And they became a great nation, and they were of one accord in heart. So that brother loved brother, and every man helped his brother. And they increased abundantly, and multiplied exceedingly. See, and when you obey Yah, that's what happens. 10 weeks of years, all the days of the life of Yosef. And there was no Satan, nor any evil, all the days of the life of Yosef, which he lived after his father Yaakov. See, because they were all of one accord, they were all following Yahweh and his commandments. There was no Satan or evil. And that is awesome. Like, this is why Satan wants us all separated. Because if we're of one accord, he can't do anything. He can't even come around. Because Yahweh will be right in the midst. And he won't allow him to come. That's the whole thing. That's the whole agenda they push. The separation. White on black, male versus female. Like, it's disgusting. If we all just came together under one accord, under Yahweh. But it is written that this is going to happen. The exact days we are living in. Read Revelation. I already did on my channel. It's in my playlist there, if you go through it. Anyway. So there was no Satan, nor any evil, all the days of the life of Yosef, which he lived after his father Yaakov. For all the Mitzrayim honored the children of Yasharel all the days of the life of Yosef. And Yosef died being 110 years old. 17 years he lived in the land of Canaan, and 10 years he was a servant, and 3 years in prison. And 80 years he was under the king, ruling all the land of Mitzrayim. And he died, and all his brethren, and all that generation. And he commanded the children of Yasharel before he died that they should carry his bones with them when they went forth from the land of Mitzrayim. And he made them swear regarding his bones, for he knew that the Mitzrayim would not again bring forth and bury him in the land of Canaan. For Macamaran, king of Canaan, while dwelling in the land of Ashur, fought in the valley with the king of Mitzrayim, and slew him there, and pursued after the Mitzrayim to the gates of Ermon. But he was not able to enter, for another, a new king, had become king of Mitzrayim, and he was stronger than he, and he returned to the land of Canaan, and the gates of Mitzrayim were closed, and none went out, and none came into Mitzrayim. And Yosef died in the 46th Jubilee, in the 6th week, in the 2nd year, and they buried him in the land of Mitzrayim, and all his brethren died after him. And the king of Mitzrayim went forth to war with the king of Canaan, in the 47th Jubilee, in the 2nd week, in the 2nd year. And the children of Yasharel brought forth all the bones of the children of Yaakov, save the bones of Yosef, and they buried them in the field in the double cave in the mountain. And most of them returned to Mitzrayim, but a few of them remained in the mountains of Hebron. And Amram, your father, remained with them. And the king of Canaan was victorious over the king of Mitzrayim, and he closed the gates of Mitzrayim. And he devised an evil device against the children of Yasharel, of afflicting them. And he said unto the people of Mitzrayim, Behold, the people of the children of Yasharel have increased and multiplied more than we. So if you hadn't noticed, this explains the new king or pharaoh that arose in Egypt. It doesn't really explain that in Genesis, but here it explains exactly what happened. Mitzrayim and Canaan kept fighting, and then Canaan finally won and took over. Come, let us deal wisely with them before they become too many, and let us afflict them with bondage before war come upon us, and before they too fight against us. Else they will join themselves unto our enemies, and get them up out of our land, for their hearts and faces are towards the land of Canaan. And he set over them taskmasters to afflict them with bondage, and they built strong cities for Pharaoh, Pithom and Ramakech. And they built all the walls and the fortifications which had fallen in the cities of Mitzrayim. And they made them serve with rigor. And the more they dealt evilly with them, the more they increased and multiplied. And the people of Mitzrayim abominated the children of Yasharel. Excuse me, I had to get some water. So, chapter 47. And in the 7th week, in the 7th year, in the 47th Jubilee, your father went forth from the land of Canaan, and you were born in the 4th week, in the 6th year thereof, in the 48th Jubilee. This was the time of the tribulation on the children of Yasharel. And Pharaoh, king of Mitzrayim, issued a command regarding them, that they should cast all their male children which were born into the river. And he's talking about Moses here, like, because Moses wrote Jubilees. It was actually given to Moses from Yahweh. Anyway, and they cast them in for 7 months until the day that you were born. And your mother hid you for 3 months. And they told regarding her. And she made an ark for you, and covered it with pitch and asphalt, and placed it in the reeds on the bank of the river. And she placed you in it 7 days. And your mother came by night and suckled you. And by day Miriam, your sister, guarded you from the birds. And in those days Tharmuth, the daughter of Pharaoh, came to bathe in the river. And she heard your voice crying, and she told her maidens to bring you forth. And they brought you unto her. And she took you out of the ark, and she had compassion on you. And your sister said unto her, Shall I go and call unto you one of the Ivri, or Hebrew? But Hebrew actually are called Ivrit. That's the original name for them. But the Ivrit women to nurse and suckle this babe for you. And she said unto her, Go. And she went and called your mother, Yocheb, and she gave her wages, and she nursed you. And afterwards, when you were grown up, they brought you unto the daughter of Pharaoh, and you did become her son. And Amram your father taught you writing. And after after you had completed 3 weeks, they brought you into the royal court. And you were 3 weeks of years at court, until the time when you did go forth from the royal court, and did see a Mitzri smiting your friend, who is of the children of Yasharel. And you did slay him, and hide him in the sand. And on the 2nd day you did, and 2 of the children of Yasharel, striving together, And you did say to him, who was doing the wrong? Why do you smite your brother? And he was angry and indignant, and said, who made you a prince and judge over us? Think you to kill me as you killed the Mitzri yesterday? And you did fear and flee on account of these words. So this is basically Yahweh talking to Moses here. Excuse me. Alright, chapter 48. Only got 2 more. And in the 6th year of the 3rd week of the 49th Jubilee, you did depart and dwell in the land of Midian 5 weeks and 1 year. And you did return into Mitzrayim in the 2nd week, in the 2nd year of the 50th Jubilee. And you yourself know what he spoke unto you on Mount Sinai, and what Prince Mastema desired to do with you when you were returning into Mitzrayim. Did he not, with all his power, seek to slay you and deliver the Mitzrayim out of your hand, when he saw that you were sent to execute judgment and vengeance on the Mitzrayim? And I delivered you out of his hand, and you did perform the signs and wonders which you were sent to perform in Mitzrayim against Pharaoh, and against all his house, and against all his servants and his people. And Yahuwah executed a great vengeance on them for Yasharel's sake, and smote them through the plagues of blood, and frogs and lice, and dog flies, and malignant boils, breaking forth in blains, and their cattle by death, and hailstones. Thereby he destroyed everything that grew for them, and by locusts which devoured the remnant, which had been left by the hail, and by the darkness, and by the death of the firstborn of men and animals. And on all their idols Yahweh took vengeance, and burned them with fire. And everything was sent through your hand, that you should declare these things before they were done. And you did speak with the king of Mitzrayim, before all his servants, and before all his people. And everything took place according to your words. 10 great and terrible judgments came on the land of Mitzrayim, that you might execute vengeance on it for Yasharel. And Yahuwah did everything for Yasharel's sake, and according to his covenant which he had ordained with Abraham, that he would take vengeance on them as long as they brought them by force into bondage. And the prince Mastema stood up against you, and sought to cast you into the hands of Pharaoh. And he helped the Mitzrayim. He helped the Mitzri sorcerers. Excuse me. And they stood up and wrought before you the evils. Indeed, we permitted them to work. But the remedies we did not allow to be wrought by their hands. And Yahweh smote them with malignant ulcers, and they were not able to stand. For we destroyed them so that they could not perform a single sign. And notwithstanding all these signs and wonders, the prince Mastema was not put to shame, because he took courage and cried to the Mitzrayim to pursue after you, with all the powers of the Mitzrayim, with their chariots and with their horses, and with all the hosts of the people of Mitzrayim. And I stood between the Mitzrayim and Yasharel, and we delivered Yasharel out of his hand, and out of the hand of his people. And Yahweh brought them through the midst of the sea, as if it were dry land. And all the peoples who he brought to pursue after Yasharel, Yahweh Eloheinu, cast them into the midst of the sea, into the depths of the into the depths of the abyss beneath the children of Yasharel. Even as the people of Mitzrayim had cast their children into the river, he took vengeance on 1,000,000 of them, and 1,000 strong, and energetic men were destroyed on account of one suckling of the children of your people, which they had thrown into the river. So that's also another reason why he drowned all the Egyptians in the Red Sea there, or Sea of Reeds. And on the 14th day, and on the 15th, and on the 16th, and on the 17th, and on the 18th, the prince Mastema was bound and imprisoned behind the children of Yasharel, that he might not accuse them. And on the 19th, we let them loose that they might help the Mitzrayim and pursue the children of Yasharel. And he hardened their hearts and made them stubborn. And the device was devised by Yahweh Eloheinu, that he might smite the Mitzrayim and cast them into the sea. And on the 14th, we bound him, that he may not accuse the children of Yasharel, on the day when they asked the Mitzrayim for vessels and garments, vessels of silver and vessels of gold, vessels of bronze, in order to despoil the Mitzrayim in return for the bondage in which they had forced them to serve. And we did not lead forth the children of Yasharel from the Mitzrayim empty-handed. So that's why they had all kinds of gold and silver and metals and gems and all that when they left Egypt. And it was more than just, the Hebrews. It was a bunch of Egyptians. It was a mixed multitude that came and left with them to follow Yahweh. Alright, last chapter here. Or no, 49 then 50. Excuse me, 2 more. So there was 3 more before. Yeah, my bad. So chapter 49. Remember the commandment which Yahweh commanded you concerning the Pikah, that you should celebrate it on its season, on the 14th of the first month, that you should kill it before its evening, and that they should eat it by night on the evening of the 15th, from the time of the setting of the sun. So this is Passover. And actually this is coming up here soon. Because the new year begins, April. The real new year. Not the worldly fake one. Anyway. For on this night, the beginning of the feast and the beginning of the joy, you were eating the Pekah in Mitzrayim. And they're talking about the sacrificial lamb, which is required to eat on Passover. So you can be a vegetarian, you can be a vegan, but on Passover, it's literally in here to eat a lamb. Like, you can't have Passover without lamb. And you can say, well, Messiah was our Passover lamb. Yes, of course he was. You don't have to sacrifice a lamb, is the thing. You're not sacrificing a lamb. You're eating it in remembrance and as Yahweh has commanded. So, why not? Anyway. So, the beginning of the joy, the eating the Pekah in Mitzrayim, when all the powers of Mastema had been let loose to slay all the firstborn in the land of Mitzrayim, from the firstborn of Pharaoh to the firstborn of the captive maidservant in the mill, and to the cattle. And thus is the sign which Yahweh gave them, into every house on the lintels, of which they saw the blood of the lamb the first year. Into that house they should not enter to slay, but should pass by it, that all those should be saved that were in the house, because the sign of the blood was on its lintels, and the powers of Yahweh did everything according as Yahweh commanded them. And they passed by all the children of Yasharel, and the plague came not upon them to destroy them from amongst them any soul, either of their cattle, or man, or dog. And the plague was very grievous in Mitzrayim, and there was no house in Mitzrayim, where there was not one dead, and weeping, and lamentation. And all Yasharel was eating the flesh of the Pekah lamb, and drinking the wine, and was lauding, and blessing, and giving thanks to Yahweh Elohim of their fathers, and was ready to go forth from under the yoke of Mitzrayim, and from the evil bondage. And remember you this day all the days of your life, and observe it from year to year, all the days of your life, once a year on its day, according to all the Torah thereof. And do not adjourn from it day to day, or from month to month, for it is an eternal ordinance, and engraven on the heavenly tablets, regarding all the children, that they should observe it every year on its day, once a year, throughout all their generations. So not only is it eternal for us, it's eternal in heaven. This also is another example of sacrifices that are going to be happening in heaven. So all these ones that go around saying, oh, we should be vegan, the Bible promotes veganism, it does not ever, not one bit. There will be sacrifices in heaven. So don't go... My point of advice, just don't listen to any of these satanic doctrines going around. Just read and study for yourself, truly. I'm not here to make doctrines or push them on you or anything. What I do want all of you guys to do is just study and learn on your own, and pray and fast. Follow His commandments, follow His Torah. It's not done away with. It never has been. And there is no limit of days, for this is ordained forever. And the man who is free from uncleanness, and does not come to observe it, on occasion of its day, so as to bring an acceptable offering before Yahweh, and to eat and to drink before Yahweh. This is the most, to eat and to drink before Yahweh on the day of its feast. That man who is clean and close at hand shall be cut off, because he offered not the oblation of Yahweh in its appointed season, and he shall take the guilt upon himself. So this is just emphasizing you need to follow every little direction, even the wine. If you don't want to drink wine, I mean, you can drink grape juice, whatever. It's of the vine. Lamb and wine and unleavened bread. All three 100% musts for Passover. Oops, excuse me. Anything else? You're changing and adding to His word. To be truthful. To say, well, you know, Messiah was our Passover lamb, so we don't have to eat lamb anymore. Well, you know, guess what? It isn't written in scriptures, but Messiah celebrated Passover His entire life. Even up to the day He died. So, guess what? He did this commandment, so He obviously ate lamb. It's written that He ate fish. So for Him to celebrate Passover properly, He would have had to have eaten lamb and drinking wine. Which we know He drank wine as well. That is written. He turned water into wine for that wedding. I mean, all these people going around with these crazy doctrines. Oh, you shouldn't drink alcohol. You shouldn't do this, blah, 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 blah. Don't listen to them. Follow whatever Yah tells you. If you don't want to drink alcohol, that is fine. You don't have to. It's not. You don't. Anything can become a stumbling block. So if you drink like once a year for Passover or whatever, that's not bad. If it's gonna be a stumbling block for you because you were once an alcoholic, drink some grape juice. Like, anyway. Let the children of Yasharel come and observe the feast of Pesach, on the day of its fixed time in the 14th day of the first month, between the evenings, from the third part of the day to the third part of the night, for 2 portions of the day are given. And here's where it explains. 2 portions of the day are given to the light, and a third part to the evening. So everyone likes to take the mistranslation where Yahusha Messiah says there are 12 hours of daylight. In many translations it says there are 12 hours in a day there, which is totally incorrect. He says 12 hours of daylight. Huge difference in context there. Anyway, this is that which Yahuwah commanded you, that you should observe it between the evenings. And it is not permissible to slay it during any period of the light, but during the period bordering on the evening, and let them eat it at the time of the evening until the third part of the night. And whatsoever is left over from its flesh, from the third part of the night and onwards, let them burn it with fire. And they shall not cook it with water, nor shall they eat it raw, but roast it on fire. And they shall eat it with diligence, or quickly, its head with the inwards thereof, and its feet they shall roast with fire, and not break any bone thereof. For of the children of Yasharel no bone shall be crushed. And that's also from Messiah. For this reason Yahuwah commanded the children of Yasharel to observe the Pesach on the day of its fixed time, and they shall not break a bone thereof. For it is a feast day, and a day commanded, and there may be no passing over from day to day, and month to month. But on the day of its feast, let it be observed. And this is what a lot of people do. You can follow whatever calendar you like. I'm not going to get into it any longer. I've tried to show and explain to people, and it just causes huge debates. And I'm not trying to get into debates. I'm just trying to show people, like, Jubilees, what Jubilees says. And it's funny because they take other books that have way less in line with Scripture, and go off of what that says than Jubilees, which the entirety of Jubilees goes right along with Scripture. I've read it several times. We've read it right here on my channel, and you can see every single bit of it goes right along with Scripture, and it dives deeper into Genesis. Like, no one has a valid excuse why Jubilees is not in Scriptures, like the canon. That's why I don't believe in canon. Anyway. For this reason, Yahweh commanded the children of Yasharel to observe the Pesach. I already said that. And do you command the children of Yasharel to observe the Pesach throughout their days, every year, once a year, on the day of its fixed time? And it shall come for a memorial, well pleasing before Yahweh. And no plague shall come upon them, to slay or to smite in that year, which they celebrate the Pesach in its season, in every aspect according to his command. And they shall not eat it outside the sanctuary of Yahweh, but before the sanctuary of Yahweh. And all the people of the assembly of Yasharel shall celebrate it in its appointed season, and every man who has come upon its day shall eat it in the sanctuary of your Elohim, before Yahweh, from 20 years old and upward. For thus it is written and ordained, that they should eat it in the sanctuary of Yahweh. And when the children of Yasharel come into the land, which which they are to possess, into the land of Canaan, and set up the tabernacle of Yahweh in their midst of the land, in 1/3 of their tribes, until the sanctuary of Yahweh has been built into the land. And let them come and celebrate the Pekah in the midst of the tabernacle of Yahweh, and let them slay it before Yahweh from year to year. And in the days when the house has been built in the name of Yahweh, in the land of their inheritance, they shall go there and slay the Pekah in the evening at sunset, at the 3rd part of the day, and they shall offer its blood on the threshold of the altar, and shall place its fat on the fire which is upon the altar, and they shall eat its flesh roasted in fire in the court of the house which has been sanctified in the name of Yahweh. And with all this emphasis on cooking the lamb and how it should be done, it's pretty important. So to just toss out eating lamb for Passover, and that's adding to his word. Anyway, and they may not celebrate the Pekah in their cities, nor in any place save before the tabernacle of Yahweh, or before his house, where his name has dwelt. And they shall not go astray from Yahweh. So obviously, since there's no temple, and the Jerusalem of today is just a house of the synagogue of Satan, we cannot do this. But since our bodies are the temple, that is how we still honor it. And do you, Moshe, command the children of Yasharel to observe the ordinances of the Pekah, as it was commanded unto you. Declare you unto them every year, and the day of its days, and the feast of matzah, that they should eat matzah 7 days, and that they should observe its feast, and that they should bring an oblation every day during the 7 days of joy before Yahweh on the altar of your Elohim. For ye celebrated this feast with haste when ye went forth from Mitzrayim, till ye entered into the wilderness of Shur. For on the shores of the sea ye completed it. Chapter 50. This is the final one. Let's get into it. And after this Torah I made known to you the days of the Shabbats, in the desert of Sinai, which is between Elim and Sinai. And I told you of the Shabbats of the land on Mount Sinai. And I told you of the Jubilees, years in the Shabbats of years. But the year thereof I had not told you, till ye enter the land which ye are to possess. The land, excuse me, that was a difficult sentence. And the land also shall guard its Sabbaths, while they dwell upon it, and they shall know the Jubilee year. Wherefore I had ordained for you the year of weeks, and the years of the Jubilees. There are 49 Jubilees from the days of Adam until this day, and 1 week and 2 years, and there are yet 40 years to come, for learning the commandments of Yahweh, until they pass over into the land of Canaan, crossing the Jordan to the west. And the Jubilees shall pass by until Yasharel is cleansed from all the guilt of fornication, and uncleanness, and pollution, and sin, and error, and dwells with confidence in all the land, and there shall be no more a Satan, or any evil one, and the land shall be clean from that time forevermore. Yeah, if they hadn't messed up, it would have been. Sadly, they messed up. And behold the commandment regarding the Sabbath. I have written them down for you, and all the judgments of its Torah. 6 days shall you labor, but on the 7th day is the Sabbath of Yahweh Elohaikin. Doesn't say follow the moon, doesn't say go barking at the moon. The beginning of Jubilees explains we're not to follow the moon for the Sabbath. Anyway, in it ye shall do no manner of work, ye and your sons, and your manservant, and your maidservant, and all your cattle, and the sojourner also who is with you. And the man that does any work on it shall die. Whosoever desecrates that day, whosoever lies with his woman, or whosoever says he will do something on it, that he will set out on a journey thereon, in regard to any buying or selling. And whosoever draws water thereon, which he had not prepared for himself on the 6th day, and whosoever takes up any burden to carry it out of his tent or out of his house shall die. So this lays out clearly all the rules of Sabbath. Any monetary gain, anything for money, anything that you're doing to get money for, don't do it. It's a day of rest for Yahweh. Really, we should just be studying His Word on Sabbath. If you have ministries, attend them. The Sabbath is a day to honor Yahweh on the day He wants us to. Yes, we should honor Him every single day, but the Sabbath is very important to Him, and it should be to us. So pretty much you have to gather and prepare all your stuff the day before, preparation day. So that way on Sabbath, you can actually cook and do stuff like that. So, you can make a fire to keep warm and cook your food on the Sabbath, because it's not for monetary gain. Building a fire for monetary gain is a no-no. And if you do have a fire, I would recommend building a fire on preparation day and just keeping it going right through the Sabbath. That way you're not starting the fire, it's just going and you're just feeding it. And if you're going to do that, make sure you have enough wood to last through the Sabbath. So you're not out gathering wood on the Sabbath, if you're in that kind of situation. Anyway. Ye shall do no work whatsoever on the Sabbath, save what ye have prepared for yourselves on the 6th day. So, what I just explained, basically food, your cooking fire, etc. So as to eat, well, I should have just kept reading. So as to eat and drink and rest, and guard the Sabbath from all work on that day, and to bless Yahweh Elohaikim, who has given you a day of feast, and a holy day, and a day of the holy kingdom, for all Yasharel is this day among their days forever. For great is the honor which Yahweh has given to Yasharel, that they should eat and drink, and be satisfied on this feast day. So remember, if you're going to, also another thing, if you're going to fast, don't start it on the Sabbath. If you're just doing a single day fast, do not choose the Sabbath to do that. You can do it any other day but the Sabbath. If you're doing a 7-day or more fast, it's fine. It's okay. As there are many examples of 7-day to 40-day fasts in scriptures. Just do not start it on the Sabbath. And rest thereon from all labor which belongs to the labor of children of men, save burning frankincense, and bringing oblations and sacrifices before Yahweh for all the days, and for Sabbaths. This work alone shall be done on the Sabbath, in the sanctuary of Yahweh Elohim, that they may atone for Yasharel with sacrifice continually, from day to day, for a memorial well-pleasing before Yahweh, and that he may receive them always from day to day, according as you have been commanded. So this whole part, this is what Messiah does for us now. And every man who does any work thereon, or goes on a journey, or tills his farm, whether in his house or any other place, and whosoever lights a fire, or rides on any beast, or travels by ship on the sea, and whosoever strikes or kills anything, or slaughters a beast or a bird, or whosoever catches an animal, or a bird or a fish, or whosoever fasts, or makes war on the Sabbath. So that just kind of explained a whole lot more. Of course, there are extreme circumstances which I'm sure you will be forgiven for not following these to the T. I know I have not followed this to the T. There's a lot. You know, the whole traveling thing, sometimes, I don't know. Is it wrong to go to a nice, beautiful area to get peace on the Sabbath? Like, because, I mean, I don't have that here in Phoenix, so I actually have to drive like an hour north, and it's forest, and it's nice and beautiful. So does that count as a journey? Like, I don't know. I think this means like really long journeys or something like that. I can't say though. Anyway, the man who does any of these things on the Sabbath shall die, so that the children of Yasharel shall observe the Sabbathoth according to the commandments regarding the Sabbath of the land, as it is written in the tablets which he gave into my hands, that I should write out for you the Torah of the seasons, and the seasons according to the divisions of their days. Herewith is the completed account of the division of days. Alright, Mishpaha, that will do it for Jubilees. Jubilees was, like I said, one of the longest ones I've done so far. They call it the Little Genesis, which is crazy because it's longer than Genesis, as you can clearly see. And if you didn't know, I've already read through Genesis on my channel. I've done a lot of readings on my channel, actually. I think it's been almost a year since I've had my channel now. It's been almost, I think, just shy of a year, maybe. I don't know. I'd have to double check. Anyway, I've done a lot of readings, the 12 patriarchs, all that. All the ones I've done, they line up with scriptures. They are books I believe are very important. If there are differences or whatever, they're very minor. And that, honestly, is a normal thing. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed the Book of Jubilees. I hope you guys enjoyed my explanations of it. You know, test all these things out, research them for yourself. You know, we all need to find that path. And we all need to find our fold where we fit in. Honestly, we should all be of one accord, no matter what our small differences are. If we follow Messiah, we follow Yahweh. Really, that's the two major requirements: following Yahweh, following Messiah, and following Torah. Those three. If you follow those three, we're brothers and sisters. We're family. We're mishpaha. Right? Any little differences beyond that, yes, they are going to happen. It's going to be normal. But it shouldn't cause huge divisions. And people should be more willing to hear others out, or hear each other out, I should say, instead of trying to prove that you're right and they're wrong, or that that this person's right and this person's wrong, like, and then that's that. And then one person goes away super angry and the other one goes away super prideful because they believe they won some kind of argument, and like, none of that is right. And that's the whole reason why I've been avoiding Facebook as well. It's too much drama, too much of that going on. I'm just trying to show what I've found, and then if you don't agree, that's fine. You don't have to agree with me. Just test it out for yourself. Just don't come at me all negative, passive aggressive, and narcissistic, and then make me look like the bad guy, like, for no reason. It's ugh. Anyway. Thank you guys for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed the reading. Please like and subscribe if you enjoyed. If you enjoyed it, please hit the notification bell, because I know I do random videos sometimes. So if you got the notification bell going, you'll know when I post a video. I don't post a whole lot of them, so you're not going to get spammed a bunch of notifications from my channel. But it does help, and likes and shares help. But it's up to you. It's up to you guys. Thank you guys. I hope you have a blessed evening. I hope you have a blessed week. Shalom, shalom, shalom.